Welcome to episode 92 of OTD, your daily dose of soccer history by 17 Lost Guy. It's January 31st, 1968. We're at the Eintracht Stadion in Braunschweig. Almost 30,000 in the stands, winter air, and a pitch that wants to turn every tackle into a survival test. This is the European Cup quarterfinal. The champions of West Germany's Bundesliga, Eintracht Braunschweig, against the champions of Italy's Serie A, Juventus. And the main character tonight is a defender, Peter Kaack, Braunschweig's four-stopper, a stopper with special assignments, a terrier of a man, built for duels, the kind of defender you love when your identities don't concede. Which is why what happens next still sounds improbable. Kaack scores 3 goals in the European Cup this night, 1 for Braunschweig and 2 for Juventus. But how did we get here? Germany is late to a national league. For decades it's regional Oberligas. Then in 1962, the DFB votes for a new national top division, the Bundesliga. Entry is not automatic. Clubs apply. Performance over the previous decade is converted into points. And the 5 Oberliga champions in 62-63 get automatic slots. In the north, 2 clubs qualify early, Hamburg and Werder Bremen. But that third slot, that's where the controversy lives. On the long-term points ranking, VfL Osnabrück and Hannover 96 both stand ahead of Braunschweig. Yet Braunschweig gets in because their 1963 finish is stronger, and the DFB uses that when clubs are within a narrow points band. It's not a scandal in the criminal sense. It's a political selection in a new system, and it matters, because without that decision, there's no Braunschweig in the Bundesliga, and perhaps no Braunschweig on this European night 5 years later. Braunschweig become a founding member of the Bundesliga, establish themselves, and then in 66-67 produce one of the most unlikely championships in German history. Their weapon is not glamour, it's minimalism. They concede only 27 goals in 34 matches and win the title under coach Helmut Johansen. At the center of that defensive identity is Peter Kaack, who arrives at the birth of the Bundesliga, becomes a fixture, and stacks up 299 Bundesliga matches for Braunschweig. And now Europe. In the first round, Braunschweig has a walkover against Dinamo Tirana. Juventus eliminates Olympiacos. In the second round, Braunschweig survive a 1-0 away loss against Rapid Wien and wins on aggregate after 2-0 at home. Juventus edge past Rapid Bucuresti. And then fate lines up Braunschweig and Juventus in the quarterfinals. Juventus, the old giant of Italian football that has just taken back the Scudetto in 1967, their first in 6 years, in a title race with Inter that runs to the final day. So on paper, champions versus champions. In atmosphere, provincial lions versus the black and white institution. And here's what makes this story so sharp. Braunschweig win the league with defense, and their defensive anchor spends the night scoring for both teams. Kaack later says, the evening looked made for him. Heavy studs, ugly conditions, a game built for collisions. He's not an artist, he's a destroyer, and he loves it. But then the nightmare arrives early. In the 12th minute, a Juventus free kick is hit low and hard, in the area in front of the goal. Kaack gets a touch, and it goes in. Own goal. And here's the first twist. Most players will spend the rest of the night shrinking, but not Kaack. He reacts by going hunting, and he tells it like this. At the half-hour mark, he breaks forward, sees no pass, and from about 20 meters decides to hit it himself. He scores. A defender, the man paid to prevent goals, making it 1-1 with a long-range equalizer. Then Braunschweig explode. Before halftime, they score twice more in quick succession. Hans-Georg Dulz, Horst Berg, and suddenly it's 3-1, and the stadium behaves like the semi-final is already booked. This is the key why moment, because this is not just Braunschweig leading Juventus. This is Braunschweig's identity working on the biggest stage. Win duels, keep shape, punish mistakes, and then lock the door. Which brings us to the second own goal. Late in the match, Juventus throw bodies forward. 10 minutes from time, a ball comes in from the right. In the chaos, it ricochets. Some official records credit the goal to Giovanni Sacco, but Kaack himself describes it as his second own goal. The ball hits his shin, spins, and rolls over the line. Final score, Braunschweig 3, Juventus 2. And Kaack has scored 3 times. And he walks off with the strangest hat-trick in European Cup history. Afterwards, he sits in the dressing room, a heap of misery, until a teammate tries to rescue him with gallows humor. Head up. Who scores 3 goals in the European Cup? No one laughed. The return leg in Turin is the purest form of Italian pressure football. Slow squeeze, no panic, keep pushing. Braunschweig defend and defend and defend, and they are 2 minutes from the semi-final. Then the sliding doors hinge swings. Luis Del Sol drives through midfield with Horst Berg alongside him, and somehow Berg doesn't make the stopping challenge until Del Sol is inside the box. Penalty. Juventus converted late, and Giancarlo Bersalino makes it 1-0 on the night and 3-3 on aggregate. Because there's no away goals rule in this European Cup era, there's no arithmetic escape hatch. A third match, a playoff, is needed to settle the tie. The decider is staged in Switzerland at the Wankdorf Stadium in Bern. This is the same ground where West Germany won the 1954 World Cup final, the Miracle of Bern. And the referee is Gottfried Dienst. Yes, that Gottfried Dienst, the referee of the 1966 World Cup final, the man forever tied to that Wembley goal. We'll do an OTD episode on the 60th anniversary of the final. So Braunschweig's biggest European night ends up on the most symbolic neutral stage imaginable, under the most symbolically controversial referee imaginable, and the winner is decided by a single goal. Juventus score through Roger Magnusson in the second half, 1-0, and that's it. Braunschweig are out. Now we zoom out, because this tie isn't just a great quarterfinal, it's a branching point, a sliding doors moment. If Kaack's first leg is a normal night, if those 2 Juventus goals don't come via him, Braunschweig would have gone to the semi-final. And who's waiting there? Benfica, Eusebio, the European Cup's recurring final boss of the decade. And on the other side of the bracket sits Manchester United, who will go on to win the European Cup in 1968. This is the boss redemption story we told in OTD episode 75, Munich, rebuilt, and finally Europe. So yes, a Braunschweig semi-final could have created a parallel reality. Braunschweig versus Benfica, and maybe, just maybe, a final against Manchester United. Instead, the door slides shut, and the high watermark becomes a memory. Braunschweig, the German champions, finished 9th the next season, and while they have other good years, they never again touch the top in the same way. Juventus, meanwhile, go through, and in the semi-finals they meet Benfica and lose. But even that is part of the contrast. Juventus lose a semi-final and remain Juventus. Braunschweig lose a quarter-final, and it becomes their defining European legend. So what should we take away from January 31st, 1968? 3 points. First, football history isn't only made by geniuses and goal scorers. Sometimes it's made by defenders' ricochet, the kind of randomness that rewires a club's future. Second, systems create identity, and identity creates tragedy. Braunschweig win Germany through defense. Then their defensive pillar lives the cruelest version of the sport, 3 goals, and the wrong 2 matter most. And third, the European Cup used to be brutal in a way modern fans forget. No away goals to resolve you, no penalties to spare you. Just a third match in a neutral stadium, and if you blink, you're done. On this day in 1968, Eintracht Braunschweig beat Juventus 3-2, but the tie didn't end that night. It ended in Bern, and it ended as a sliding door story Braunschweig fans can still replay in 2 parallel timelines. That's all for episode 92 of OTD, your daily dose of soccer history. If you have corrections, sources, or suggestions, email me at otd@17lawsguy.com. Tomorrow, in episode 93, Argentina's 1937 South American Championship, not yet the Copa, a playoff victory over Brazil, and the ignition point of a rivalry that becomes a continental obsession. Stay tuned.